This is the Mad Dragons Podcast. Well, g'day and welcome to the Mad Dragons Podcast. And for a good part of this game, the Dragons took it right up to the in-form Brisbane Broncos in their own backyard. But in the last 10 minutes, they turned into dead set lemmings and turned and walked off a cliff. Jesse, do you see this game as an omen for more misery to come, or simply a minor lapse that can be easily rectified?
It's a bit of both. I like the way they played in the first half. They really stood up in the Broncos' face. They kept turning them away after the Broncos had a lot of possession in their own half. And the aggression was great. And they didn't let the Broncos pass. I mean, if they're going to set that platform, they've got to play like that every week if they're going to be in a lot of games. And they've just got to learn how to play that for longer periods during the game because, they didn't keep that intensity in the second half. Like second half, halftime did come at a bad time for them as they had all the momentum. And then, they didn't come out in the second half and they just stopped and they came at the worst time for them. But I think it is a concern that they let those 4 tries in the space of 8 minutes. How quickly they scored them and how tired the boys were with 20 to go. Definitely something to look at. How Griffin's training them all, and hopefully he can work on that at training this week because another big game next week coming up against the Sharks in the local derby. So it has to be fixed quickly.
Yeah, no, it certainly does, mate. It was certainly a bad finish to the game, but I think there's certainly some positives that we can take out of it. To try and see if there's any more positives to take out of it, we might move in to our first segment of the show. It's one of this show's favourites, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it as well. There ain't nothing but heroes and villains, more villains than heroes. What can you tell? What from the next? Can you go down from zero? There ain't nothing but heroes and villains, more villains than heroes. All lined up from the east to the west, black cat born on an infinite chest. Hazman, what do you got for us, mate?
Yeah, if you take out the first 10 and the last 10, some pretty decent performances. But the guy that I've decided to go with as the hero this week is Ravalawa, who always looked sort of as if he was running with intent. And there's another reason which I think I'm actually going to get into a little bit later on anyway. But something that not too many wingers could probably successfully do, suffice to say. But I think he was, he didn't do much wrong, to be honest. I mean, there wasn't much going wrong if you take out the first 10 and the last 10. Now, my villains for this week, probably not going to come as a surprise. Peter Goff and Chris Butler, they've missed pretty much anything you could possibly miss. The one thing I want to call out in particular, I don't remember exactly who it was. I think it might have been Corey Pay's try in that sort of little 10-minute blitz, where the arm carrying the ball has touched the ground over the line, but the ball absolutely 100% has not. I've watched 100 replays of it. I cannot see any part of that ball hitting the ground over the line at any point in time. I don't know how the hell have they managed to miss that. I think that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back as far as where was concerned. I don't know how you can miss something like that. You got 100 replays to look at. I just can't figure out how Chris Butler's missed it. Peter Goff, I don't think he's the Dragons friend that he says he was. So yep, Peter Goff and Chris Butler get the big raspberry from me this week. Who gets it next week? We'll have to wait and see, Donny.
Absolutely, mate. Just before we get into the next bit, I know we've got a pretty tight agenda here tonight, but always like to involve the people that are listening, and I might go to you, Chloe. If we've got Steve Gonadelli has asked. He said, "Is it time to say goodbye to Mbai and play an extra forward on the bench?" I'm sure we'll brush over this a little bit later on, but certainly a lot of frustration at Moses Mbai and his impact while he's on the field. Do you think it's time to get rid of the utility on the bench and just go with 4 forwards, or do we still need a utility there?
Well, I like what Jacob Little did last night. I do find Mumbai's a bit slow, and he does slow down the ball that I saw last night. And when Little did go off and Mumbai came on, yes, things were not quite what I wanted, or probably the fans wanted. So having utility would be great, but we need that speed, endurance to stay with the play, not just slow it down or make errors and ruck infringements. So I think, yes, we need, sorry, Mumbai, but you need to go, but we need some younger person that can be a good utility to come in and help the forward. So yeah, I think Mumbai needs to go.
Yeah, Brendan Daly is jumped in the comments, and he suggested a young person that might be able to come in and play that utility role instead of Moses Mbai. We will talk about that a little bit later on, so we'll leave people hanging a little bit there, and we'll move into the Mad Dragons Vodcast Player of the Year. So Mad Dragons Vodcast Player of the Year, there are 8 members of our panel that are regular voters on this. So 8 members of our panel that all give 3-2-1s in every single game. So it's a little bit more even, I suppose. It gets a more of a spread than the Dally M votes. But unfortunately, Muzza was unable to vote today. So a big thanks to John Karras, who was Muzza's proxy voter for this week. He's a bit under the weather, didn't get to see much of the game because of that, and said that he wouldn't get a chance to watch it again today. So I had John Karras sub in for Muzz and give his 3-2-1s. I actually sent the call out to half a dozen other Mad Dragons Vodcast regular followers, and a lot of them did get back to me as well with their 3-2-1s, but it was John Karras who was the first to get back to me, so he's the one that gets the official votes and the shout out this week. So big thank you to John. Votes for this game were pretty well spread with a maximum of 24 votes. Obviously, if all 8 panelists give somebody the 3 votes, they can get up to 24. The player of the match only got 15 votes, so that gives you an indication as to how well spread the voting was. But they did get man of the match from 4 people on the panel, including Jesse. Jesse, tell me why you thought Tyrell Sloan was the Dragons' best.
Yeah, he I-40 did well on every test. I knew Adam Reynolds was always going to pepper him all night. That towering bomb, he tried those towering bombs on him, test him out. He did well going in the air, catching those. Yeah, the I-40 handled every thing that was thrown at him by Reynolds. And that try, he was involved in a couple of tries as well, including one of his own. So, and it's good to see him really enjoying his football and building up his confidence, because that's only going to be good for him and the team going forward. So, if he can continue to build on that and work on where he needs to improve, he'll get better with more game time in top grade.
Yeah, no, I actually had Tyrell Sloan as the best as well, and I thought he was absolutely sensational. Like you said, he was always going to get peppered. He got peppered last week, but the idea of facing, was it Tanner Boyd last week compared to Adam Reynolds? It's a completely different proposition. He hit quite a few right in the belly of the ball, and Tyrell Sloan was able to go back and took every single one of them. I don't think that Adam Reynolds' kicks actually played as big a role as some people seem to think. Adam Reynolds' general play, on the other hand, was probably the difference in the game for the most part. But yeah, I thought Tyrell Sloan handled every kick that he put towards him, and he had a couple that he shanked trying to get a good piece of it. So I thought he handled that really well. And as you say, his general play getting around the field was absolutely sensational. I thought he really stood up for us and had a big game. Second in the voting with 10 votes, but getting 3 from Hasman was Frankie Molo. Hasman, you had Frankie as our best. Tell us why.
He was the only Dragons forward to run over 150 meters with 176. That's all 15 runs. He had 84 post contact, and he did look strong for the vast majority of his 55 minutes on the field. I think the next best forward, I think, would have been Josh Kerr. I think he about 140. But yeah, 176 meters. It's a pretty decent run, especially in the sort of heat and humidity that they were playing in. I'm not advancing that as an excuse for the way they played, by absolutely no means. But no, I thought it was a really strong game from him, and hopefully he can back it up against the Gummies next week.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I thought he had a good performance. He certainly got some votes from me. Yeah, so I thought he was the best of our forwards. He really aimed up. He was aggressive. He got in their face and made a difference. And certainly his meters reflect that. But I thought some of his defense was really good as well. Even though he might have missed a couple, shooting up like a missile, he set the tone in terms of the aggression that the Dragons played with that allowed us to really get on top in that first half. I thought that the first half really didn't, the scoreline at halftime really didn't reflect the game. I thought we were a 20-point better team than the Broncos in that first 40. We were significantly better than them, and I thought Frankie Molo was a big reason for that. He went really hard, probably gave away a couple of penalties, and we'll talk a bit about discipline later, but yeah, I thought he had a really solid game, and it was probably the best of our forwards for me. All right, there was actually a tie for third in the votes with 6 votes. First of all, I'll go to you, Chloe. You had Jaden Sullivan with the 2 points. Tell us why you had Bud as our second best.
I thought his game was very well. He was all over the field. He got 1 try. He had 4 runs, 48 all meters, 8 post contact meters, 2 tackle breaks. And I just thought overall I just felt that confidence and that speed with him as well. Like the kick that he did to Zach Lomax, I know we're going to talk about it later. I thought it was a good kick, and I'd like to see that more from the kickers in our team. That was good. It just didn't really pass what they wanted. So, you know, I just thought I think he looks good at 6. Yeah, I just think he had an overall good game for him, for Bud.
Yeah, no, what I loved about Bud's performance was his control, and he didn't. And I said this about him, about his first performance. There was a few people that sort of, I don't know whether he played all that well in the first game, but I thought again in that first game he played with good control. He didn't try and overplay his hand. He didn't run every single time he got the ball. He picks his times to run, and I thought in this particular game he actually got a lot more of the ball than he did in the first game. So he was able to get more of it. And for the first 35 minutes of that opening half, all Jaden Sullivan did was catch, pass, he'd go across field, turn someone underneath. Like he didn't run the ball. He put a few kicks in, but he didn't do too much at all. It was just catch, pass, get it onto the next guy, push it out. And then the second he saw an opportunity, he tracked across field, looked to the outside, saw Ezra Mann had slid too much, thought I can beat him one-on-one, stepped off the right foot, went straight through him, scored a great try. Jaden Sullivan can do this for us every week. So I think that it was a great example of what he can bring to the team. It's not just that he's a great running player. It's that he's a genuine half. He's a genuine 7. a guy that can actually control the team around the park, guide them around. I thought he had a much better game than Ben Hunt in terms of the way that he controlled the team. In the second half, we saw a couple of really good tactical kicks from Sullivan, put them right down in their corner, kick to space. Ben Hunt, on the other hand, he didn't see, he just put it up and under a end over end bomb. That was the only kick that he put in. There was no tactical kicking from Hunt in this game. I thought his performance was fairly disappointing. It's a shame we don't have Big T on. I know he has sent a message through. I haven't had a chance to read it, but he has sent a message through as to why he wasn't able to get on tonight. Hopefully Big T's okay, and it's nothing too serious. It's prevented him from being able to get on today. But the last of the Player of the Year voting was actually really controversial. I was really interested to hear what Big T had to say. I might go to you for your thoughts on this, Hasman, because the person that actually tied with Bud for third, there were two blokes that gave this player the man of the match award, and the other six panelists didn't give this guy a single vote. Big T had this fella as the man of the match. It was Jack Bird. Can you think of any reason, Hasman, as to why Big T might have thought Jack Bird was the best player for the Dragons on the field? You're on mute, mate.
He's got to be related to him. I honestly can't see any reason why you'd even give him one vote, let alone three. I just don't know. I really look. I'm an educated man, Donnie, but I can't speak intelligently about what Muzz is thinking, what Big T's thinking at any point in time.
Yeah, no. I would love to have got Big T's thoughts on it. I'd love to get the thoughts of anybody that's watching out there at the moment in terms of why they thought that Jack Bird might have been the best player on the field, because I certainly didn't think he was in the top few. Chloe, you've got something that you think that might explain why Jack Bird got the 3 from Big T, and also Dazza, so I'll drop him in it as well.
I did see good areas with Jack Bird. Like when I find when he gets frustrated with the team, he puts more of an effort in and I did see that during the last bit, like not the 8-minute, but more like from the 60th minute to the 70th minute. I saw a few good tackles, and he was a bit frustrated as well. I don't know what Big T was thinking, but yeah, I did see a bit of aggression from him, but that's all I can think of. That's my little input. So, bit of aggression. I don't know, Jesse, what do you think? Did you see anything from Jack Bird that you liked?
No, I didn't see much of him at all for the whole game, to be honest. I mean, that one silly penalty he gave away when Payne Haas was right on the goal line and they got a 6 again or something, like I think it was 6 again or a penalty. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a lazy penalty, and I think the Broncos scored off it. So yeah, I certainly didn't have him as one of my top players last night. No, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, he played 80 minutes, and I actually think that was a mistake from Hook. He played 20-odd minutes. He was on that other podcast, the Dragons Den, the official podcast of the St. George Illawarra Dragons during the week, and he was complaining, whinging deluxe at the fact that against the Titans, he sat on the bench for 35 minutes and he wasn't happy about it. And he said, I'll let it be known that I wasn't happy about it. He didn't want to come off the field. And it seems like he got his way. So maybe Hook trying to teach him a lesson, give him 80 minutes out there and let him keep powering through while he's struggling, or maybe he just gave in to Jack Bird's demands and gave him what he wanted. I think that Jack looked like he was struggling out there at different times. I don't think he should have played 80 minutes. For me, he did top the tackle count, and he didn't miss too many. So that's often the criticism of Jack Bird, but I don't think he was bad defensively for us in this game. My concern with Jack Bird during this game was that he looked really, really slow. Looked really slow. Like every time he got the ball, he looked like he was in slow motion. He looks like he spent all his time in the gym, getting those muscles big so he can push players off, but he can't run more than he's slower than Blocker. Like we can't have him out there and being that slow. Like he just, I don't know. He didn't look like he had the speed that we need for him to make an impact in the game. So I was a little bit disappointed with Jack Bird's performance. I was surprised when there was two people that thought he was the best player on the field for us. So yeah, again, would have been great to have Big T to take us through it. What we might move into now is a bit of an advertisement. So the Mad Dragons vodcast, we do have our own store with some of our own merchandise. If I'll just share the screen here. So go to etsy.com.au/shop/Mad Dragons Vodcast, and you'll find our store. As you can see, we've got a range of different gear on there. We've got T-shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got kids stuff, we've got beach towels, we've got singlets, we've got coffee cups, we've got the works. So yeah, get on to the Etsy store and get yourself some merchandise. I know there has been quite a few people that have jumped on and grabbed some. So yeah, I know that some of the stuff that I've got through, I haven't tested it all out because I'm not made of money, but yeah, I've certainly got a few shirts and whatnot, and the quality has been fantastic. I haven't had anything that's let me down yet, and I know a couple on the panel. Jesse, you've got a few shirts and different things as well. So yeah, you've bought a few things, and you've loved everything so far from what you've told me. Yeah,
no, they're quite good. Very nice. Not too hot either, being this time of year. And they're very comfortable, not tight fit. So, and they're just regular size fit, whatever size you are normally. Yeah, it'll fit normally. So, it's not big size or anything like that. And yeah, not slim fit. So perfect.
Yep, fantastic. So yeah, get around it and yeah, go and get your Mad Dragons vodcast swag, and I'm sure you'll look fantastic. I'll be at the game next week, so if you buy something and come up and say g'day, then maybe I'll buy you a beer. So yeah, hopefully some people can come up and say g'day when I'm in Sydney for the next couple of weeks. But we'll move into some of the moments of the match. I might stay with you, Jesse. The start, the Broncos had all the ball during that opening 5 minutes, and you sort of texted me and said that the Broncos really looked up for it. You thought the Broncos really looked like they were up for it right from the kickoff. But a bit of defensive resilience from the Dragons during that period was pretty impressive. And then our first chance down the other end, we score. So what did you think of the start overall?
I think it was the start they were needed to have any chance to stay with them. They've been fast starters in their first couple of games. So yeah, because we are known for we're not known for catching up when we're behind. So if we had to have any chance of winning that game last night, we had to start strong. And I thought we did that. We were very aggressive in our defense. We refused to crack. And you pointed out too, Donnie, that they just didn't know what they didn't really have that play that they could break us open. They're trying the same play over and over again, the Broncos, and the Dragons were reading it like a book. And the start was perfect. And yeah, just go down the other end after all that ball, and Zach Lomax putting Matt Field over in a corner. That was the start they needed, and they built on from that. Yeah, it's unfortunate they couldn't keep it going, but yeah, good start, and hopefully something to build on going forward.
Yeah, I'll go to you, Hasman, with a question that we've got. Well, not a question, but more of a comment that we've got in the live comments from Marcus Jolly. It was something that I think you might have brought up in the group chat. It might not have been you, but I'll go to you for it anyway. He said the bench rotation. He thought the bench rotation is a real positive. And I think you were questioning whether we use the bench effectively. Do you agree with Marcus's take that it was fairly effective, or do you think there was some mistakes made by hooking that area?
Look, a little bit of both. I just think towards the end of the game, we just looked sort of that sort of buggered Like the boys didn't look like they had anything left. Now that would suggest to me that he hasn't used the bench properly, especially given the conditions. Although having said that, the Broncos actually used one less interchange than we did. They just used it a little bit more sort of effectively. So yeah, I think Hook may potentially have got it wrong on this occasion, Mark.
Yeah, I think that I certainly questioned that Jack Bird staying on for the full 80 minutes. Now, I don't know if this was the plan for Hook all along. So that was certainly a concern. Maybe Ben Murdoch-Masila going down early in the game with that head knock, Bird moving across to the edge. And even though Murdoch-Masila came back on, I'm not sure he certainly didn't look 100% for the rest of the game after that knock. So maybe that changed his plans in terms of bench rotation there. And I think the other key aspect that a lot of people will pick up on is that the Jacob Little, what did he play, 40, 43, 44 minutes or something? That's not enough. Jacob Little's got to be playing 55, 60 minutes a game at the least if we're going to be able to compete with the best teams. We can't have Moses Mbai out there for 35, 40 minutes at dummy half because he's simply not effective
for
enough.
30, 40 seconds, let alone 40 minutes. 46 minutes he played.
Yeah. So it was somewhere around there. So yeah, like exactly. I think that's not enough. So I think they were probably the mistakes he made with the bench. But I love the fact that the guy that's getting the least amount of minutes off the bench is still playing 20, 25 minutes there or thereabouts. I think that the least was Michael Molo with 24 when I looked earlier today. I know that does update, but to have so often last year, Hook was criticised because there was one bloke that sat on the bench and maybe played 5 minutes at the back end of the game. He's not doing that. He's recognised that the modern game is a 17-man game. You can't have a passenger on the bench, although he's still got Mbai out there. But anyway, that's another conversation. But yeah, I think the fact that everybody is getting decent minutes out there, I think his use of the bench has been a lot better this year. There were certainly some errors, but overall, I think his use of the bench has been pretty good. I'll stay with you because the next question is with you, Asman. A moment in the match that I don't think has received enough attention. It was about 13 minutes until it left in the first half. Jaden Sullivan puts up a bog average kick, and it was going out in the full for all money. Mika Ravalawa leaps almost into the crowd to knock it back in field. Got a touch from Ezra Mam, and we got 6 again. And then that next set up during that 6 again, Tyrell Sloan scores. Do you remember the moment? If not, talk us through the Tyrell Sloan try anyway.
Yeah, so Sullivan's he's about sort of 35, 36 meters out. He's put up an absolute shocker of a kick that's gone about 10 meters, if that. Looked like it was going out by at least 3 meters. As you've just alluded to, Ravalawa was jumped about 20 feet in the air and he's batted it back, and it has hit Ezra Mann's right hand. Sullivan does regather it, and I think it was on the 4th tackle of that resulting set. He passes to Jaden Sewer, who in turn offloads beautifully for Sloan to go over. So that made it 8-6 at that stage.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for you to stop talking so quickly. I was replying to Big T. He's out at the moment, and he's got a mate whose car's broken down in town. So that's the reason why Big T hasn't been able to get on. He said he'll jump on if he gets home. But for the time being, we're throwing his questions around to random members of the panel. So we're flying by the seat of our pants as per usual. Chloe, leading by 10-6 with 8 minutes left until half time, and the Broncos seemingly struggling defensively. Zach Lomax, the team, first of all, they looked to the bench and got told to take the penalty goal. He took the penalty goal and missed. First of all, what were your thoughts on the decision to take the 2 in that moment?
I was very skeptical because I remember when Jamie Soward used to do this all the time. Whenever we it was that time, like Wayne Bennett would say, just go for the two, just go for the two. I'm like, do you want to go for the two at Suncorp or do you want to try? So I thought, yeah, let's just get the two so we would leapfrog a bit more, get in front more, because up there is very nerve wracking, and but then when he missed, I was like, what the fuck did you just do that? I was like, oh my God. But then luckily we got the ball back. But then I was like, okay, we now need to try and score next. And then I was like, yeah, I was a bit nervous then. I was like, oh God, he missed it. He just missed it. So yeah. But yeah, that's me.
I thought that Lomax really sort of struggled in terms of his goal kicking for most of the game, but he wasn't the only one. Like, a lot of people are focusing on Zach Lomax. Adam Reynolds had a couple of terrible strikes as well. So I don't know if there were the atmospheric conditions or something played a role, but it certainly
the
seemed
ground wasn't very good. Did you see the ground? It wasn't very good. It kept a lot of the grass was coming up and there's dirt going around. I don't know if it was due to the weather from last week, but yeah, it didn't look very good, the ground. Plus, can I ask why Ben Hunt wasn't kicking a lot? Like, he had a very quiet night last night. It was much of Zach Lomax, and did he go missing? I didn't really see him in the field. So I was like, is he all right? Is he having a good day? What's going on? I didn't see very much magic from Ben Hunt.
Yeah, again, I don't think he had a very good game. I thought he was okay in the first half, but the second half, I thought that he really looked like a bloke that was going through the motions. Not sure what was going on there. He certainly touched the ball a fair bit. I think 60-40 compared to Sullivan in terms of the two halves. Hunt was still the dominant half, the guy that was getting more of the ball. I think it's good that he's letting Sullivan take a bit of the ball, and I think Bud is doing really well with the ball that he is getting. I thought his kicking game lacked imagination, and when he got the ball, like, again, I just didn't think he created a great deal. It wasn't the best game from Benny Hunt. He still managed to get a vote from somebody on our panel, but there's somebody that still thought he was in our best three players. So it doesn't seem to matter what Ben Hunt does, he still gets some sort of recognition. But I suppose I'll stay with you, Chloe, just on, because it is Big T's question.
Yep.
Big T has raised the possibility that Lomax might be injured because his goal kicking he didn't seem to strike him all that well last week against the Titans either. Do you think there is some sort of injury that Lomax is carrying that might be affecting his goal kicking, or do you think he's just got the yips at the moment?
I didn't see him look injured, but who knows? But I think he's I think he's got the its at the moment. I think he needs to go back to training, just get the kicks. I know he practices, just go each angle when it's windy. Maybe turn take with Sullivan or someone else to do, because that's what I remember. Like, if someone's not doing so well in the first half for kicks, someone will overtake. But we just didn't even have another kicker to do those kicks. So I was a bit surprised that we didn't have an extra person to help with Lomax's missing kicks. That would have helped us be more in front, but it just didn't. Wasn't the day, wasn't the time or day.
Yeah, and as I say, I certainly think last night Adam Reynolds, a couple of his strikes were uncharacteristically poor as well. So maybe there was just something in the air. All that humidity I've been hearing about apparently really played a factor at the back end, even though both teams were playing in it. But anyway, Dragons fans are reaching for any excuse they can find. Before we get into the second half, just a general point that I want to raise, and that's the play the ball speed. Josh Kerr off the bench, I think, is one of the best in the NRL in terms of his play the ball speed. And I think it makes such a big difference when he comes on the field. His average play the ball speed in this game was 2.77 seconds, which is almost 2 seconds quicker than some of our other forwards. And then I'll have a look at the Broncos forward pack. Every single one of them is averaging less than 4 seconds to play the ball. The Dragons had Jaden Sewer, Francis Molo, Jack Bird, Zane Musgrove, and Michael Molo all over 4 seconds per play the ball. Jesse, is this a sign that we're losing the ruck? And what can we do better to improve in this area?
100%. It is. 100% they're losing the ruck. That they never quick play the ball quickly at all. They're never doing anything with any urgency or showing that they want to get away with the next play quickly. Because in this modern game, a lot of those better teams play the ball quickly, get on with their set, and looking to move further upfield. I don't see any urgency from the team at all. And if they've got I think that's another thing they've got to work on at training during the week, especially those forwards you did mention. But Kurd was quite good in that department. But yeah, if they're going to compete with the better sides in the competition, they need to work on how they play the ball and get it done quickly, because they'll get found out quickly, and they'll be on the back foot for a lot of games during the year.
Yeah, I memean, I think it's a key element that I want to keep a bit of an eye on as we progress through the season. I'm certainly concerned about it. And I've sort of said coming into the year that if the Dragons are to be successful, we don't have the size in our forward pack. We don't have the dominant front rowers to try and take teams up through the middle. Now I know that's sort of the way that we play is we try and be ultra aggressive and take it straight up to them. But I think we're getting dominated through that middle of the field when we've got the ball. When we don't have the ball, teams are dominating us in that area. I'd love to see us get a bit more width. I don't think Moses Mbai is capable of giving us that, which again is a big concern if he's going to continue being our starting dummy half. But as soon as Jacob Little comes on, I notice we do start to play with a bit more width. He's able to get out from dummy half. His passing from dummy half is certainly a lot crisper. If we can get wider of the ruck, run in numbers too. We tend to run far too one out. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do that will allow us to improve our play the ball speed. And yeah, like I said, it's something that I want to keep a bit of an eye on as we move through the season. Hopefully we do see some changes that allow us to get some sort of dominance in the ruck, because without it, the good teams are always going to beat us. Hasman, we went into the second half, and once again, it looks like Coach Kevin Stone has put the team to sleep again. Is it fair to say that it wasn't just the last 10 minutes, but probably most of the second half, we looked a different team to the one we've seen through the first 120 minutes of this competition?
Yeah, I thought we looked lethargic right from the opening set, and I think just as the second half went on, we just, we looked like we didn't have anything left. Which, I think Hook's perceived poor use of the bench might have had a sort of an influence on that, including bringing Mbai back on, who's an absolute liability, back on at a time when the game was in the balance and we needed speed in the ruck. Now, if Mbai was going to come back for a second go, it should have been earlier. Maybe, give him 10, 15 minutes or so just to give Little a rest. And then Little comes back on and sort of gives us that speed that we know that he brings to the team. Maybe if that happens, the result might have been different.
Yeah, mate, I hear. I just thought that coming out in that second half, our line speed completely disappeared. All of a sudden, the Broncos were getting the ball on their own try line and marching at 100 metres upfield. Like we were standing on our heels that entire second half. I don't know that all comes down to fatigue. There seemed to be a complete change, a complete shift in the way that we were playing. We were really getting up in their face. Our line speed was really quick. We were shutting down all their time in that opening 40 minutes. That completely disappeared in the second half, and the Broncos were able to do what they want. They had time to do whatever they wanted. All of a sudden, they got that roll on, and when we were completely on the back foot, and we couldn't seem to change that momentum. So I thought a very, very disappointing first 40. Certainly that opening to the second half, where the Broncos came from behind at half time, and then all of a sudden they were in front, and you thought, Jesus Christ, how quickly did that happen? I thought we did okay then. We sort of got back into the arm wrestle, a couple of tactical kicks, as I said earlier, from Jaden Sullivan, got us back on the front foot, and we started to look the better team. And then, of course, the capitulation at the end, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So the Broncos got to the lead. We levelled them with a penalty goal. Chloe, it looked like we had gotten some momentum back. And then Sullivan put that kick through for Zach Lomax, and I think somebody said in the comments that it was on tackle 2. I don't actually remember it being on tackle 2, but put a kick through for Zach Lomax to score in the corner. He didn't score, but I mean, when you thought he did you think at that point we had gotten back on top and would go on with it?
Yeah, yes, I thought we would get back on top. That was a good kick. Yes, someone is right. It was tackle 2. At first, I'm like, what are they doing? And then once I saw that they were trying to do something, and I actually thought Zach got it, I was like, yes, did we get it? And I was like, come on, praying, making sure that it was. And I'm like, oh, but I was just hoping that the next set that the momentum kept going. But like I thought at that time, they did look a bit tired, lethargic. And I just think the Broncos had more speed in them. Like, I don't know what they had at halftime or whatever, but they were just more spark in their line. And like, I saw a bit of frustration from a few players going, what is going on, from our players? So I was about to turn the TV off and like, no, give him a chance. But yeah, it was just very hard to watch.
Yeah, for me, I don't remember it being tackle 2. I don't remember seeing that it was tackle 2 or being concerned when he put that kick in. All I saw,
it was pretty early on in the set. It was pretty early.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not doubting that it was tackle 2. It's just at the time when I was watching the game, I saw him put the kick in. I saw where Zach Lomax was. I saw that the kick was perfect, and I was just excited. Like, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's even more phenomenal that he put it in and it was tackle 2. The fact that he had the stones to on tackle 2 after we'd sort of been under the pump for a little while to put that they set that up. They set that up because Lomax was holding his width right out on the wing. He wasn't even the winger. So this was a planned move, and on tackle 2, and executed it almost perfectly. Just Zach Lomax didn't quite reel it in enough and didn't have full control of it to plant it down in the corner. That was millimeters from being the absolute perfect play, and I think it's great that he did. There's certainly a few questioning the fact that he did that on tackle 2, but for me, that makes it even more impressive. The fact that he was able to execute it to be almost inch perfect. I actually think it was Lomax that should have reeled that in and scored the try. There was nothing wrong with that kick. So yeah, I think that was really, really great. I'll go to you, Hasman, with Big T's next question. The unenviable job. 18 all, with about 8 to 9 minutes left, and we got flogged 40 to 18. It was very hard to watch. Tell us what, in your mind, went wrong.
I just think, as I said earlier, we ran out of puff. I think it's pretty much that simple. If you had a look at them after the, I think it was the second of those 4 tries that they scored in that 10-minute period. You could see them just walking back. Half of them had their bloody hands on their hips, and their heads were down. Like they were visibly rooted. Like, and I don't know if that's a fitness thing or whether the condition sort of got to them or whatever. But there was absolutely zero energy in that last 10 minutes, and that's basically what Brisbane took advantage of. I think it sort of at equal, sort of, I don't know, strength maybe, but if we had the same sort of energy, I don't think they would have scored any of those tries.
Yeah, no, I think most Dragons fans saw it as soon as they scored that try, got out to that 6-point lead. I know Jesse, you said it, Benny O'Brien in the group chat said it as well. He said it's all over. I saw it as well. I thought that the body language of the team looked completely shot. I was holding out hope. I'm like, it's only 6 points. We defend this next set. We get the ball back. It's only one try. We're a chance. We're still in the game, but inside, I knew it was over. As soon as they scored that try and got to the lead, I just didn't think we had anything left. I couldn't see how we were going to turn the momentum and find the energy to score the next try, but I certainly did not expect it to go the way that it did. I thought Kevy Walters holding Payne Haas back for that long. It was a bit of a masterstroke from Kevy, really. I kept seeing him sitting on the bench. I was like, you're holding back your trump card way too long here, Kevy. I thought by the time you get him on, it's going to be too late. We're going to be in front by then, and it's going to be all over. But he held him back. And as soon as he came on, oh my God, he was fresh, he was fiery, and we couldn't handle him. What he did in that last 7 or 8 minutes is an indication as to how good Payne Haas is. I think he's one of the premier forwards in the competition. It was absolutely sensational. Well, maybe not for Dazza. I don't think Dazza found it sensational at all. He hates the Broncos, but as we all do. But yeah, it was remarkable to watch. All right, the next section: injuries, sin bins, send-offs, possible suspensions, and other changes. Injuries and possible suspensions. I don't think anyone was charged from that game at all. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any suspension worries. Jesse, there are a couple of potential injuries. I don't think Ben Murdoch-Basila looked 100% despite passing the HIA. And Matty Feeney also seemed to struggle at times with an ankle injury that also seemed to worry him last week against the Titans. Do you expect these players to miss the Sharks game? And if they do, who do you think replaces them?
Yeah, as you said, Ben Murdoch-Basila did look the same since he came from that HIA last night. So if Jack DeBellin comes fit, I'd just put him straight into the pack somewhere there. Maybe even have him on the edge or in the middle of the field, straighten up the middle of the defence. As for Matty Feeney, yeah, he looked like a passenger all night, like the way he was. After he scored that try, he didn't look a lot of the same. He was basically running. He couldn't run when Cobbo scored that try late in the game. He had nothing left in the tank, and he was so tight. He couldn't run, the poor bloke, and Hook didn't even notice that. Like a good coach would notice if one of his players has got an injury. He's if he does, if he is unavailable next week, I'd probably look at his twin brother Max, or he might, knowing Hook, he might chuck in Tautaunoga, who was solid in playing on the wing for us I think it was 6 games he played last year. So I think it's probably between those two if Matty Feeney is out. And as for Murdoch-Basila, I'd look at Jack DeBellin if fit, or potentially Couchman if he's available. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see until on Tuesday at 4 p.m.
Well, I mean, Couchman certainly has played a bit of edge. So he certainly calls himself an edge forward, Couchman. So maybe that might be a good shout from you, mate. I think we're definitely lacking depth in terms of edge forwards. So it'll be an interesting one if he's not available. There's a few people saying Jack Bird. Jack Bird went to edge in this game after Murdoch-Basila went off, and I don't think he was overly effective at all. Again, I don't think he's got the speed to play on the edge. He looked really, really slow. I know I've said it a few times, but you can't have a bloke that's playing out that wide and being as slow as Jack Bird is at the moment. It's I don't think he can play on the edge. I think Jack Bird's got to stay in the middle. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how that plays out. In terms of the Matty Feeney one, I think Max is the natural inclusion. Max travelled with us up to Brisbane, didn't play New South Wales Cup this week. So he's been the sort of 19th man for the last 2 weeks. It hasn't been Tautau Moga. Tautau Moga is dropping off very early off the extended squad list. So I think Max Feeney is the next in line. If Matty is unable to play next week due to that ankle injury, and given it's happened a couple of weeks in a row, a week off at this stage of the season wouldn't be the worst idea for Matt. I think if he's not 100% fit, then he needs to get himself right, because he can be incredibly damaging for us on that flank if he's 100% fit. But if he's got to take a week or two to get that ankle right, I think he should do that. I certainly wouldn't begrudge him doing that, and I think it'll make us better in the long run if he does. Hasman, the other question about next week might be with players coming back from injury. Jack de Belin is again a chance of overcoming that calf injury. He was supposed to play round 2. He was supposed to play in this game. Again, Hook saying he's still 50-50, but I guess a chance of overcoming that old man injury. And also, as Jesse mentioned, Toby Couchman missed the game with concussion. Would you expect both to come straight into the 17 if fit? And if so, who do you drop?
Look, I think potentially both of them could. In terms of who might go down, I mean, I don't know how good Murdoch Masilla is at this point. He, as Jesse said, he didn't look too good even after he came back on after his HIA. But I thought, I mean, you can't drop either Molo or Kerr. They played too well, and Musgrave didn't do that much sort of wrong either. I think de Belin needs to come back just to sort of strengthen the middle, and maybe have Bird as a backup edge forward along with Couchman. I think potentially Murdoch Masilla needs to have a week off, just to sort of get himself right up. I don't think he's 100% either, truthfully. But no, I think there is the potential for both of them to come straight back in next week. And look, it's probably a good headache for Griffin to have, but we'll just have to wait until Tuesday, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think we'll get to the Tuesday show, and we'll see he's named an unchanged lineup, and everyone's fine, and then it might change by the time we get to game day. Who knows? That again, still, it's a Sunday night, the last Sunday night fixture again for the Dragons, and up against the Sharks next week. So we've got to wait a little while before we get it. It's nice to have that extra turnaround time. I think coming back from Brisbane, some beaten up bodies, and it was difficult conditions up there. So not necessarily the worst problem to have. It might give a few blokes a bit of extra time to recover as well. A few humorous comments. Brendan Daly said, Blockers scoring tries these days, so maybe he can play on the edge. That'd be a sight to see. Be up there with Jack de Belin playing halfback. All right, we'll move into the lower grades. New South Wales Cup with another poor performance against the Knights, going down 30 points to 10, which is very concerning. Muzza, he said to me, we need this side performing well, putting pressure on the top guys, and he's 100% right. If they're getting lapped, it means not too many are putting pressure on. However, I've had a look at the highlights and read through the stats, and one positive for me seems to be that Junior Amone looked a bit better this week than he did last week. He had 2 try assists. He had a line break, ran for nearly 100 metres. Defensively was very poor. He missed quite a few tackles. I think he made 9, missed 5, something along those lines, a couple ineffective. So it was defensively very, very poor. But otherwise, a bit of a better performance from him. Again, I'm not sure about his kicking game. I know he kicked a couple out on the full last week. Not getting to see the full game and only seeing the highlights, it's difficult to make too many judgments. We just go off the stats that the New South Wales Rugby League release and the highlights. I'd love to see him in the 17 as our utility option other than Moses Mbai. There's certainly been a couple of comments saying the same thing in the chat. Let's have a quick look at the highlights, and after the highlights are finished, Chloe, I'll get your thoughts on Junior possibly replacing Moses Mbai. But the time being, we'll sit back and have a look at the highlights from this reserve grade game. If it wants to work. All right, Chloe, I mean, having a look through those highlights, what were your thoughts first of all? And do you think Junior a chance of replacing Moses Mbai in as the utility option?
Well, I did like the I don't really watch the younger grades, but it was great to see the highlights. It looked like it was a close match, and I think anybody replacing Mumbai is great at the moment. Bringing Junior in would be great as well. Just seeing him come in, like, he was a great player last year. I just feel with Mumbai, it's just with him, I just don't know. He just doesn't get the speed of the game anymore. And dummy half, we need someone to be fast. And you see other teams, I know people have already said this, but like I always dwell on like the Rabbitohs, like they have the number 9 and who is fast. They know where to go, and that's what we need. Someone that will go, yep, you're getting it this time, knowing where to place the ball and knowing, like, and yeah, if Junior wants to come in and be the utility, go for it. I think that would be great. We need a strong utility. And that's where it starts. A strong utility, a strong 7, 6, 1 and forwards, and people coming from the bench as well. So Little, I agree with everyone. He needs more than just 45 minutes. If he does 50 minutes, then give him a 10-minute break and bring him back on, because the crucial end of the game is when we need that extra speed and endurance, Yeah,
no, I certainly agree with a lot of the things that you said there, Chloe, especially when you said anybody is better than Moses Mbai. I was cheering when you said that. I think that's you're echoing the thoughts of a lot of Dragons fans with that comment. And again, this is nothing personal against Moses Mbai. I think everyone that speaks about Moses says that he is a top bloke, an absolute legend of a bloke to have around the club, and his experience is invaluable. But in terms of what he's producing out on the field, what Dragons fans get to